With all the new technology and the abundance of information on the web, you would think that buying or selling or understanding the real estate market would be easier than ever. But ask yourself one question. Now that you've done your homework and you think you know what's going on, what do you do next? Good afternoon, everyone. This is take two, and the reason that it's take two is because this morning, unfortunately, two things happened. We had a great broadcast with a lot of great information, but for some reason the sound wasn't there, and I have no idea why. And also our lighting was a little off, so we're going to try this one more time. Normally we're on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock every Tuesday morning, but this particular time we had some technical difficulties, and so we're going to try this again. The subject matter, as far as I'm concerned, is really important, and so I want to make sure that you get this great information. And what we're going to talk about today are multiple offers. The multiple offer situation can become a very emotional situation, and what we wanted to do today, as we do on this broadcast every week, is break down how you can sort of overcome those emotions and overcome that sort of stairway of pressure that you might feel in a multiple offer situation. And there are ways to do it. So we're excited to maybe give you some tips, some ideas on how to handle that, and have you be a real winner in a multiple bid situation. This is Facebook Live, so I encourage you, if you're watching, I know we are not normally scheduled at this time. For those of you that I invite every time, I do apologize, but this morning was just, okay, I'm getting the high sign. It stopped?
Well, Teresa waved at you, but it's just spinning. It's you're not talking outside. It's just you're frozen and spinning. Okay, we'll start again.
All righty. I'm not quite sure what happens, but let's just continue, and I'm going to just go through the broadcast. Teresa, thanks for waving. That gave us an indication that somebody is out there listening. So thanks so much. Again, this is Facebook Live. Anything can happen, and apparently everything does. So Randy's kind enough to be on my side and give me that high side as to what's happening. And she said for some reason there I was just whirling and whirling. But anyway, let's get to it. Let's talk about multiple offers. Before I do, one more time, let me introduce myself. I'm Stewart Fournier. My wife and I, Randy, practice residential real estate here in Manhattan Beach, California. We represent the beach areas primarily. However, we do work all of Los Angeles and have to combine close to over 35 years. And so we're happy to talk to you about your real estate needs at any time. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today to educate you about the real estate world, specifically today about multiple offers. Now, multiple offers is a complicated subject that's actually going to take two of my broadcasts to do it, because we like to keep these broadcasts as close to 10 to 15 minutes as possible. And multiple offers is one that's going to take a little bit more time than that. But I'm going to focus on two areas that I think will give you a good foothold and an understanding of where you should be and how you should react sort of psychologically and not have too much pressure on you. So let me just get right into it. And the reason that I'm bringing today's subject matter up is that over the weekend we actually had a great listing wherein we had done all the prep work that we normally do for a property that was going to be vacant, that's in good shape. We staged it, we made it look as nice as possible. We put it at fair market value, and as I've told you before, fair market value is a statement in itself. I've talked about what that is in a previous broadcast, so go ahead and see that broadcast. Fair market value is usually, in a fast market situation, the only situation wherein multiple offers happen. So this is a great scenario that happened over the weekend. And that is that I began to see people that had gone to other open houses like the one we had over the weekend and come in with the attitude that, oh my gosh, even though it looks real nice and it's fairly priced, gee, look, there's other people and they're probably excited about it too. And they ask the realtor, is this a multiple bid situation? And the realtor says, well, I don't know at the time, implying that there may be a multiple offer situation. And they immediately become discouraged. And we absolutely understand why. Because think about it for a minute. What does multiple offer mean to the buyer? It means to the buyer that not only do I have to compete with the seller and get their sense of what they want to sell the property for, but I really am going to be competing with a number of other people. And that creates a sense of discouragement because the competitive edge that you're not guaranteed about, because there's so many other people, there's just more variables that can be discouraging, and people therefore, when they hear that there's even a multiple offer situation, immediately discount themselves out of the probability of buying the house that they actually like. And that's a real shame, because that is the most defeating attitude that you could have, when in fact there's so many other ways to look at it that I think will help you along, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to work on that sense of discouragement precisely today. So I'm going to bring up two things today that'll give you a little bit of a better sense of it, and then in the next broadcast we'll talk about how to apply those two things. So let me give you an overall sense of what a multiple offer situation should mean for you. First of all, first and foremost, pat yourself on the back. You've done something that is validating all the work you've done to this point, and that is you have done your homework, you're aware of a fair market value on the house that you're seeing, and you've realized what other people have realized that are in the same competitive boat that you're in, that this house that you're in is probably a good deal. So it's taken a lot for you to get to that point, so congratulate yourself for that. And understand that this probably is an opportunity wherein you can turn it around and make it work for you. So don't be discouraged. And also, never ever underestimate how many people may be involved in a multiple bid situation. Now, today I'm going to talk about in general what happens with multiple bids. And in fact, we have been involved in multiple bids that are anywhere from 5 to actually 32. I think 32 is our actual the number of bids the maximum number of bids we've ever had on a house, and as you can imagine, that's pretty overwhelming. After 32 offers, we actually discourage people from making any others. But believe me, that's a realtor thing. Even if no matter how many offers are on the table, always feel free to make an offer anyway, and don't let anybody discourage you from moving forward, because regardless of whether the realtor says that they're not taking any more offers, they are still obligated to present the offer no matter what happens. So don't let anyone trick you with that one. The second thing is, and this is a real important thing. Oops. Decline that. Okay. And this is a real important thing, not just relative to today's subject, but relative to real estate in general and getting a perception of how real estate actually works. In a multiple bid situation, your house has probably been priced fair market value, if not just a little under fair market value. And so in that scenario, the chances are that you are going to have to pay a little bit more, which is why the seller strategically put that house at that price to begin with, because they're looking for the maximum amount of money they can get, which is very normal. Sorry, get interrupted by emails and phone calls right on it. Okay, get rid of this. Okay. Which is why the seller puts it on the market. They're looking for a fast sale, and they want you to be in a competitive situation so they get the most out of it. So don't let that discourage you. And the reason that you shouldn't let that discourage you is that the only difference between the price that the seller would get immediately as opposed to later on down the line, even if they asked a little bit more for the house, is not going to be that big a difference. Ultimately, that's something you shouldn't care about. Ultimately, the only thing you should care about, and it makes perfect sense that you would, is what you're going to pay for the house. Now, you are probably going to have to pay more for the house than the list price. That's just the strategy here. And that psychologically, of course, is also a big negative for you as a buyer. Why should you pay more for the house? But let me ask you to take a different approach to that, and it'll help you along as far as the offer that you're going to make and hopefully the successful price where you're going to purchase this house. The first thing that happens when you actually pay a little bit more for the house, we've seen it anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 up to $50,000, depending on the actual price range. Your $1 to $1.5 million price range is probably where you would see overbids of maybe 10 to 20 on upwards of 50,000, depending on that particular market and those particular streets. But $10,000 on, say, a $600,000 house would not be uncommon. So, in essence, I understand, and it makes perfect sense, that paying $10,000 more than the list price doesn't feel comfortable. But think about it for a minute. Those are short-term emotions for potentially long-term, and I mean long-term, big, big gains. So when you actually go through the escrow process, let's say you've paid $10,000 over list price. You've gone through the escrow process and now your house is bought. Remember that the list price of your house is history. It doesn't matter anymore what it was listed for. What matters now is what's on record, and that is the price of your house today, or the price of your house when it closes escrow, excuse me. And the neighbors around, the last thing you should feel is though I paid too much for the house and everyone around me is laughing. Okay, that's not the situation. Actually, everyone around is loving you. And the reason that everyone around is loving you for paying the price that you did is that if you paid $10,000 more for your house, everybody's house in the neighborhood is now worth more. Maybe not exactly $10,000, maybe even more, but their houses are now worth more. That's the essential formula for real estate. Real estate goes up and down based on the last sale. So you're not losing anything. You're actually gaining. You're establishing what the price of the house is, and that is the value, not the list price. The list price means absolutely nothing at that point. So feel good about the fact that you're in a market that wherein the market usually goes up in every circumstance long term. That's why we love property so much, and that you're doing something everybody's benefiting from. So that psychological sense that you're paying too much, you really should let go. Now I'm going to mention one other thing, and I'm going to go off the air. This is going to take probably 2 or 3 minutes, but I'm going to speak from experience in terms of the people that are actually involved in a multiple bid situation. And through our 35 plus years of experience, this is pretty much the formula that we've seen happen time and time again, and I think you'll find it pretty surprising. Now, let's say, again, you have anywhere from 5 to 32 offers. Let's just pick 10, okay? So typically, let's say if you had 10 people, what's the breakdown? And it's important that you understand the breakdown because, again, this will make you feel more comfortable about where you should position yourself. So let me make it easy to start off with. The first 2 people in that pool of 10, the first 2 to 3, believe it or not, will offer less than list price. Now, that goes against all logic simply because it's obvious that the house is probably going to go for over list or over what they've listed the actual list price. So why would somebody actually offer less when they know 8 other people, 7 other people are going to offer more? And you know what the answer to that is? I don't know. After 35 plus years of experience, I don't know whether it's wishful thinking, whether these are, full-time lottery players or whatever the situation is, but that happens every single time. They think the sky's going to fall. I don't know what it is, but certainly it's not realistic. Now, your second group, your next 2 to 3 people, now we're up to 6. They will not offer a penny over list price. Psychologically, for whatever reason, they're very comfortable with that position. Again, it makes no sense to me because if you've got 10 people that are going to make an offer, certainly at least a couple of those people are going to be going over, if not way over, because they just want the house no matter what. So those people usually do not get the house as well. So now we're down to 6 to say 7 people. Now, of those 4 people that are left, 7 and 8 will offer a little overprice. In other words, let's say the house is $1 million, and we know for a fact that probably the house is going to go for $1,020,000 because we have 10 offers. they will still not come up to bat in a way that they need to. They will give a little over, feel good about giving over a list, but again, they're missing the boat. And psychologically, it may make them feel good, but it's not a winning formula. The last 2 to 3 people are really the ones that, if you sincerely want this house, are the ones that you're competing with. So psychologically, try to subtract the emotion of 10 people. It's really 1 to 2 people at the end that you're competing with. And again, I don't want this broadcast to go too long, so I'll get into how you actually battle those two in the future broadcasts. But I wanted to give you a sense of what your competitiveness is in a multiple bid situation. Please do not be afraid to get into it, because again, you're in a situation where you're completely validated about the fact that you've done your homework. This is probably a good deal, a great investment, and yes, you are going to have to pay a little bit more, but again, the value that you're going to give is not lost. The value is added to that house, and it stays with that house for as long as you own it, and that's really a good thing. So I'm going to cut it off here. Please, if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, or you have any concerns about real estate in general, certainly hit it in the comment section just below. Once again, as I say on every broadcast, we're offering a Fournier app that gives you the ability to take a picture of any house in America. You're driving by, you can just take a picture, like I said, of any house, and that particular app will give you the value of that house, the value of the houses next to it, or in the immediate neighborhood. It'll actually tell you if there's any open houses in the neighborhood. Certainly if that house is listed, it'll give you all the information about the actual listing itself, and it'll actually give you a comparative market analysis, an analysis of all the houses in the area. So it's a very comprehensive app, for free, of course, and we're happy to supply that for you. All you need to do is give us your email. We take care of the rest. All you have to do is download it. And more importantly, no matter where you are in the country, we're happy to answer any question about real estate. You can actually talk to us on the app itself. We won't see you on the app, but if you ask us a question, it'll come up on our phone, our regular cell phone, and we'll see that you have a question. We'll be happy to answer it right away. So that's it for now. Next week, join us again at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Sorry for the broadcast this morning. It just didn't work. But I wanted to come on and do a better job and get these points across, because I think they're really important. And I want to take the frustration out of buying real estate. And nothing could be more frustrating for a buyer than the multiple bid situation. And I hope we can turn that around in terms of your attitude towards it and give you some great tips about how you can beat that situation and do come out on the winning end on that. We'll see you next time, 10 o'clock on Tuesday, everybody. Please bring your questions, and I will give you, which I didn't put up today, I will give you a free coffee bean card if you ask a question. Okay, little bribe. Anyway, see you next week, everyone, 10 o'clock Tuesday. Bye-bye.